Okay, my first question to you is what inspired you for this project?
For this project, when I joined Bastar, so this was the first time when I was working in the Bastar area. So Bastar, as you know, is known for all the negative things. But it was COVID, peak of COVID when I joined it. So I had some time in store to actually go around and define my own priorities, and that was the peak of lockdown. So I discovered that Bastar has a lot of resources. It's actually rich rather than being just an aspirational district in one of the poorest areas in terms of all the indicators that you talk about. There are a lot of resources within Bastar. The problem is the exploitation, the nature of exploitation. Either they are not properly exploited, overexploited, or they are exploited by others. So the value addition which is happening outside Bastar. So Bastar is not getting its due. So that's when we also spoke about, and we also met a lot of people who have worked in Bastar. And since I said it was lockdown, so it was very interesting to meet a lot of people who were working in MNCs, who were very highly placed in different places abroad also, and they had all come back to Bastar. So that was an interesting time. So when we actually have had a meeting of this, what can we do together as a part of a community? And a lot of them started talking about startups and how they would any day leave their corporate job and come back and do something for Bastar using Bastar's resources. So that's where the idea came up. We started doing it once the lockdown was a little more relaxed, and that's where the startup, because usually startup based projects are taken up either by the state government or by the central government. So usually district does not get into all that. So it needs a lot of resources. But since Bastar had resources and we had support from the state government and central government, so we started this. And the response that we got was amazing. A lot of people actually left their jobs, came down. So for example, very interesting ideas as to how to market Bastar as a tourism hub. So once the locals started doing it, so a lot of things which the government could not do started happening.
Oh, great. Can you tell me about the biggest challenge while implementing this project?
The challenge was the initial, there is always an inertia. So, because as a government machinery, we are not meant to promote business, in the sense that there is always this handicap, maybe intellectual handicap or propaganda based handicap, that we always, private ventures, we that's not our first, priority. So that was the biggest one. So making my subordinates, my colleagues understand that what we are making them believe in this, and then actually starting that pilot, getting colleges like Tata Institute, HNLU, and big colleges on board, making them come to Bastar. So because Bastar was new, people usually think of it as a very unsafe place, and once they came in, then their eyes got opened, and then they started helping us. So that was the initial reluctance phase. A lot of people ask about the challenge from the LWE sector. So, but the LWE sector was not much of an issue because we were empowering the locals to work for the locals. So had we started doing things, had we started promoting tourism, there would have been a backlash. But since the locals were doing it, since the communities themselves understood how to, what is the benefit out of tourism and everything, so there was no backlash from that angle.
Can you tell me, like, a lot of civil services aspirants are watching this. So, what is the message that you want to give to the aspirants who want to become an IAS officer? Why do I become an IAS officer?
We often say that, this service can mean different things to different people. But I could just talk about my personal journey, and I cleared the exam in the first attempt as an IPS, then I cleared it in the second attempt as an IAS in Chhattisgarh cadre. So that was the time when I was deeply motivated about, especially about the issues related to violence within the country. So when I used to read about LWE, when I used to read about Naxal problems, so it was always this thing that why can't we solve it from the developmental perspective? These are our own people. And I used to read a lot that time. So I actually left my job abroad and started doing into it. So I think, looking back, I think that drove me a lot to actually work for the people, and the kind of work that we could do in Bastar despite the lockdown, despite everything else, was because, once you go with that outlook, you try to join people, you try to bring people on board, and so you don't want to be the Shasak, you don't want to be the person or to actually give the top-down instruction. You want to collaborate with them and you want to work with them. And that actually helped us do a lot more initiatives in Bastar and actually transform it.
Now, a quick rapid fire with you, since it's so much in fashion these days. Who has been your role model?
My father.
Most important value for a civil servant?
Integrity.
Describe in one word your feeling after receiving this award.
Joy.
What is your hobby, like in your free time? What do you like to do?
Music.
What is your philosophy of life?
Live and let live.
And finally, why do you think IAS officers can do something for the growth of the country?
I think IAS offers a job which functionally gives you the maximum amount of capacity to give an impact. And when I say that, I talk globally. So IAS is an opportunity which, in terms of impact, you'll never get a job like that ever.